morning. My name's Melanie Douglas, and I'm here to talk to you about achieving an understanding of death. The meaning of death goes beyond our simple human understanding and changes as we age. It has important social meaning because the death of any one person changes the roles and relationships of everyone else in a family. So when an elder dies, everyone else in that particular lineage moves up one step in the generational system. It's like my husband's grandma, she always throws this awesome Christmas party every year. In fact, when we got married, I told him if it didn't work out, he was going to have to suck it up because he's going to see me at that party. But she passed away this year, so now it's going to be up to her remaining children to throw the party. Meanings of death. 4 meanings that death may have for adults have been identified. Death as an organizer of time, death as punishment, death as transition, and death as loss. Death as an organizer of time. Sociologist Bernice Newgarden suggests that one of the key changes in middle age is the switch in the way one marks one's own lifetime, from time since birth to time until death. Her interviews with middle-aged adults revealed that before middle age, people think that they have plenty of time to do everything, but after a certain point, they start to wonder whether they'll have enough time to accomplish everything they want to. Death as punishment. Children are likely to link death and punishment for being bad, a kind of ultimate stage 1 of Kohlberg's moral reasoning theory from chapter 9. If you remember, level 1 is the pre-conventional theory. It's the punishment and obedience orientation, and it states that what is right is what is rewarded or what's not punished. This view and its reverse, that long life is the reward for being good, is still common in many adults. Such a view is strengthened by religious teachings that emphasize a link between sin and death. Death as transition. Death involves a transition from life to some sort of life after death or from life to nothingness. In surveys of people in the United States, 74% said they believed in an afterlife, meaning that their consciousness would exist after death. 27% believed in reincarnation, meaning that they had lived before and will live again in another body after death. People that believe in reincarnation think they keep coming back till they've learned everything they need to learn, and then they move on to nirvana. Death is loss. Perhaps most pervasively, death is seen by most as a loss. Loss of the ability to complete projects, carry out plans, of one's body, of experiencing, of taste, smell, and touch, and of relationships with people. Unlike beliefs in the afterlife, in this domain there are age differences. In particular, the specific losses that adults associate with death appear to change as they move through adult years. Young adults are more concerned about loss of the opportunity to experience things and the loss of family relationships. Older adults may be more concerned with the loss of time to complete some inner work. Death anxiety. The most studied aspect of attitudes towards death is death anxiety, or fear of death. This fear is strongly linked to the view of death as a loss. If we fear death, it is partly because we fear the loss of experience, sensation, and relationships. Fear of death may also include fear of pain or suffering, the indignity often involved in the process of death, the inability to cope, whatever punishment is believed to be waiting in the afterlife, and fundamentally, a loss of self. There are 4 main factors that contribute to death anxiety: age, religiosity, gender, and personality traits. Age. Researchers have found that middle-aged adults show the greatest fear of death, and older adults the least, with young adults falling somewhere in between. This is consistent with the idea that one of the central tasks of midlife is to come to terms with death's inevitability. The greater awareness of body changes and aging, coupled with perhaps the death of one's own parents, breaks down our defenses against the knowledge and fear of death. In these years, many adults grope towards new ways of thinking about death, eventually accepting it in a different way so that the fear recedes with old age. Religiosity. The degree of one's religious or spiritual belief. Research findings show that there is a direct relationship between religiosity and fear of death. In a study of adults aged 70 to 80, those who were low in religiosity and those who were high in religiosity feared death less than participants who were moderate in their religious or spiritual views. There's two factors of religiosity: extrinsic religiosity and intrinsic religiosity. Extrinsic religiosity is practiced by people who use religion for social purpose and as an arena for doing good deeds. And intrinsic religiosity is practiced by people who live their lives according to their religious beliefs and seek meaning in life through their religion. I was with my maternal grandfather. We're really close at the end of his life, and he was definitely intrinsic. Like, religion was his life. And I can tell you that he was sure of what waited him in the afterlife, and he passed from this world ready to see my grandmother again. He was not afraid. Gender. A number of studies from various cultures show that women have higher levels of death anxiety than men. It has been suggested that this might be an artifact of higher rates of anxiety disorders of all kinds for women. However, a recent study showed that females report higher death anxiety than males, even when controlling for depression and other possible confounds. I feel like a lot of this is simply because males are traditionally taught to be fearless and brave, and women are taught to be cautious and be defensive and worry about themselves because we kind of have to. So we're kind of taught to be afraid. Personality traits. Certain personality traits seem to be factors in people's attitudes towards death. Self esteem, higher levels seem to serve as a buffer against the fear of death. Sense of purpose. Those who had a higher sense of purpose in life had lower death anxiety. Regrets. People who feel a great deal of regret both for things they have done or not done in the past and things that they may not do in the future have higher levels of death anxiety. Accepting the reality of one's eventual death. Coming to grips with one's eventual death is known as finitude or finitude. I don't know. It is a process that occurs over time and at many levels. On a practical level, you can make out a will or obtain life insurance. Such preparations become more common with increasing age. For example, I'm 42, even though don't tell anybody. And I just recently made out a will and got a life insurance policy. It's not that I think that I'm going to die anytime soon. It's just that I'm aware now of the possibility and I want my children to be taken care of when it does happen. And one of the most popular ways to plan for death is the living will, which is a document that takes effect if you are no longer able to express your wishes about end-of-life decisions. At a somewhat deeper level, adults may start making preparations for death through some process of reminiscence or reviewing their memories. They'll tell stories, some of them want to write them out. It's kind of a cool time period when you're with someone at that time. Anyway, another way people accept the reality of their death is to become an organ transplant donor, agreeing that at the time of death, their usable organs and other tissue can be transplanted to people who have been approved to receive them. At the moment, thousands of people are waiting for donated organs, and the process of becoming an organ donor varies by area. But in many states, it can be done quickly when you renew your driver's license. That's the way it's been done in all 4 states that I've ever lived in. I've been an organ donor since I was 18 years old. I figure someone else might use them if I can't. I mean, I'm not going to need them. Anyway, many people, including myself, view their decision to be an organ donor as a way to give back to others and to gain a little immortality. Plus, I figure, like I said, if I don't need them, so someone else can use them if they're still good, because I plan to be old when I die. Anyway, thanks for listening. I got all the information for this presentation out of our textbook, The Journey of Adulthood. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions.